Hi everybody, Todd Peak Appliance here. Today we're looking at a 24-inch, should probably do that, 24-inch GE stack washer. And I'm not sure how the audio sounds on that, but I just had it in a spin and you can hear that loud whoa. I like to associate it with a low-flying plane, but this is a real common repair in our area. Pretty sure GE's aware of it because I've done quite a few of these and went back and forth with parts availability and techniques and that sort of thing. So anyway, what's happening is they get a loud noise and you can see all the rust water, and you can see it on the pulley there as well. But basically what happens is a lot of these you pull apart and there's water down in the pan, down in the bottom here. This one not so much, probably because it dried out, but you can see rust water all over the place. Real common. It's all over the pump too. So basically what it is it's the transmission and the seal. So the seal leaks on the tub, and then it blows out the bearing. I think they kind of wear together. So so what I've done is in the past put a transmission in it. The problem is that bearing seizes to the drive shaft on the transmission, and the transmission's up in here. So GE's aware of it, and the earlier versions was very difficult. Ended up having to beat them apart, take them apart. A couple guys at GE actually said to use an acetylene torch and heat it up, which is quite difficult for like a field repair. It's pretty involved. So since then I found a part number where they end up replacing the whole thing. It gives you the outer tub, the inner tub, and the one I have out there actually has a motor on it as well. So here's the new one, and this is how it ships. It ships upside down. First thing I do, because I've got a couple of these before where these suspension mounts were cracked, and they're all looking good. I already looked at that. So but like I said, this transmission, I don't even bother trying to order these anymore because you can't. I've done a couple that were real clean. They come apart. There's these, I think they're 3/8. They're 3/8 coarse plastic lag bolts bolt into the tub, and you got to separate the basket. Now separating the basket's been too much of a problem, so I got skunked on a couple jobs, and then had to buy the outer tub. One of the two, I can't remember. I just remember beating these apart, cutting them apart. I've cut the shaft off of one of the transmissions, and that's a real mess. Black toxic smoke, and yeah, just a real mess. But you can see in here, where's my light? There it is, right down in there. That's the main noise, that bearing. That's the low-flying plane. So, but like I said, I mean, they give you this whole assembly. It's about $100 for shipping, but the price, you can't price this stuff out cheaper than individually than if you do it like this. Just do the whole setup. Yeah, it even comes with this with the overflow, and it's all ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead, and there's not a lot of room here, so I'm gonna pull this apart. But it's pretty much a plug and play kind of job. There's this, you know, you got to separate your drain hose, take the machine apart a bit. I'm gonna pause this just because it's gonna take me a little while, but it comes with this new wax motor, and then there's also a sensor here. Where is that? Yeah, so it's this this sensor, this can be a real mess too. Like I said, if you're parting the job out, but you don't want to do that, trust me. It's much easier to do it this way. So you get the forks here, which has that wax motor. That's what changes your spin and spin and agitation. Because this is your coupler here, so you could see how these those lock together and then free up, and that's the difference between your spin and your agitate. There's a couple wire harnesses here. There's this one that's your motor connector, and here's your sensor that goes bad up there. So and that's pretty much it. So it's a motor, belt drive system, and everything's new. So we're gonna go ahead and pull the old one apart, and we're gonna get that going right now. So I'm gonna pause this for a bit, and then we'll come back. All right, so it's pretty much out. I just need to physically remove it, but everything's been disconnected on it. You can see those are your suspension rods in the back, and the front. There's one on each corner. So here's the front one, and these basically, once the tub's in place, which it is not. This is the old one, but that suspension setup just sits under here in that slot. And a lot of times on this machine, you'll see these will crack. I'll go ahead and install these one at a time on these. I usually always tell people though that that's one of the beginning signs of the failing transmission. But you can hear it again with the low-flying plane scenario there. But don't want to beat it up too much, because it's basically just kind of taking this apart, putting it back together. Here's your tub ring. There's a couple screws, because this one has suspension straps on it. That's a bad illustration. This one here, and these interlock into the top here. So you have to take these screws out. This one had torque screws. There was 3 of them right here, and that's what holds your suspension strap. That keeps the tub in place. Now a lot of these models don't have this anymore. They've done away from it, but the tubs that I put in still have these, so it kind of works on a lot of different models. So you just have to do that, and taking these off is a little tricky. This one I'll actually probably save, because another thing on this machine is these will crack. I see these cracked quite a bit, and they're pretty inexpensive. This thing I think is like 10 or 20 bucks, which is odd, because everything else in the machine is kind of expensive. But the new tub, which is that one, but it's upside down, it has one of these on it, so I'll have to take that off so I can get my tub straps on. The biggest crux on all this stuff here is before you take the top off, here's your lid switch. So there's like another $50 part. So 2 screws on that. You want to be careful on that, and the magnet, which this just has a tab. You just depress that, and then your lid comes out, which is right there. So that whole lid assembly comes out. It just makes life a lot easier if you remove that. And then over here, you've got your wire harness. These are, this is all existing. I'm always careful with this Christmas tree nut. Basically, you just kind of have to pry these out back and forth, because they don't give you a new one of these, and it seems to keep all the harnesses tight and whatnot in the spot. These tabs, you can reuse all this stuff. You just got to be careful when you take it apart. They click into place like that. And then last but not least would be this pressure tube. Make sure you put that on, otherwise you end up flooding the place out. This is how your machine tells the water level. And again, it's got these tabs, which carefully you can reuse them. So anyway, that's that. I try and reuse everything, but one of the things on this is this machine a lot of sharp edges on it right here. I don't work with gloves on that often, but yeah, you got to watch it because this is super sharp. This is super sharp. There's some other stuff down in here. I guess this isn't too bad. There's other areas though, so you want to be careful with that. Okay, I'm going to pause it here again. All right, so we got everything in here. I just have to put the tub ring back on. Before I do that, we got to put screws on these. Not this one though, because this has a dispenser port that sits over the top, but the other ones get these small torque screws. Put the tub ring back on, put it all back together. But one thing I wanted to point out is that lock ring is torqued from the factory supposedly, but this one was not. So you will need a special tool. It's a spanner wrench right here, and what it is basically you put it on this nut. This nut's aluminum, so. And it's a left-hand thread, so you need to spin it counterclockwise to tighten it down. So you hit it with a hammer, which is real tight in this 24-inch drum, but I put it on there, gave it a couple whacks, and it's tight. So that's all good. So you will need this tool. This is actually a Whirlpool one, but so it doesn't really fit that great, but I've never had a problem with torquing these down. A lot of times they don't want to come off though, and you end up stripping them out or whatever, but not this time. So that one's all good. I'm going to try and take that other drum apart, and just to see, out of curiosity in my free time, see if it will come apart. It probably will not, but like I said, you know, a couple of them, I did a couple, and I was able to pull them apart and do the transmission only. I did 2 of those, and then ever since then I've been doing it this way because I had a few more that I couldn't get it apart. So that's why I strongly urge people to, you know, if you're a DIY, get this kit, because you will struggle with that. And same thing with text, you just got to cross-reference, make sure your part numbers work out. So here's all the stuff, all the you know, all the original wiring and whatnot. So like I say, I reuse all these clips, and put your pressure tube back on for sure, because you don't want to flood somebody's house out. So I have all my connections. I'm almost ready to fire it up. About 45 minutes in at this point, so with filming and stuff, so not too crazy, but there's a ground screw, and there's that Christmas tree fastener, which you can't see, but it holds all these wire harnesses neat and out of the way, because you don't want them hitting the belt. If you hit this, then you got another problem, then you get a call back. One thing I did fail to mention is it's packed in styrofoam. So I've seen styrofoam in these before, so I just, once I get it in place, I'll try and shake out whatever I can, because you don't want a chunk of styrofoam to get stuck in your drain pump, and then all of a sudden you have this big project, and you got to come back for a no drain call. But here you can see from the factory they do a zip tie on that. I'll leave that. I'll cut them off if I get a sock in the pump or a blockage, and I won't necessarily put it back on. I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but I don't know, I don't feel I can get a zip tie in that tight, and you get your spring clamp there. So that's pretty much that. I'm going to put it all back together, and we'll fire it up here. So it does not come with a agitator, so you got to take the old one off. It's a 7/16 screw, and I'll go ahead and put this back in, and I'm going to give it a pause, and we'll come back, and this will have water in it next time we look at it. So, all right, we're back in action. I put it on a small fill with warm water, so it fills quicker than slower. Looking underneath, and don't see any leaks, so that's good. That's a win. But yeah, that's pretty much it right there. So get an idea how this machine operates. It fills, senses the fill, and then now it's agitating. So that's pretty much it. When it goes into spin, that wax motor will engage, and it'll lock. You can see the white drive actuator. Oh, there we go. Now it's in focus. When it goes into spin, that pulley will engage with that white. Actually, the white actuator engages with the pulley, and that's how you get your spin. So, and that wax motor and that fork system makes it all happen. So that's pretty much it on this one here. You can see, yeah, you lift it, starts flashing, lid's open. So, so we're all good to go. That's pretty much it. And I hope I saved you guys some hassle out there. Give us a thumbs up. Thanks.